There's a lot of talk out there today about what's good customer service and what's not. Well, there's a lot of great books you could read, such as Raving Fans and others, that really talk about how to give a customer the best experience. I'd like to take a minute to talk about simply what not to do in customer service to make sure our patients and our customers receive the best care possible. Recently, I went to the dry cleaners. Dropped off my clothes. I'd used this dry cleaners many times. Dropped off my clothes. When I picked them up a couple weeks later, I noticed that there were many wrinkles in the back of the shirt. I've used this dry cleaners before. I wasn't upset about it, but of course I'm going to bring it back to them and give them an opportunity to correct it. When I came back up to the dry cleaner and I handed it to the young lady, I think a new trainee there, she took a look at the dry cleaning and she said, and I said, well, there's some wrinkles back here. And she goes, oh, well, that's because you used heavy starch. I said, well, maybe I do have heavy starch. She goes, well, yeah, it says heavy starch. You always have to ask for heavy starch. If you ask for heavy starch, there's more likely to get the wrinkles there. Well, the fact of the matter is she's absolutely right. It is more likely to have creases if I use heavy starch. Silly me. I should have realized not to ask for heavy starch. Well, that's how I felt. Even though she was right, her intentions may have been right, by educating me in that moment, she was actually lowering my trust, my appreciation, and really giving horrible customer service. So what could she have done different? She's right. The heavy starch was causing them. Well, what she could have done was simply this. She could have said, oh, I see that you have an issue here. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And she doesn't then need to assure me she's going to fix it. She could simply just say, I assure you I'll look into this. And once she looked into it, then she could have said, well, I figured it out. It looks like because of the heavy starch we're using, it's causing these creases. Now, I can send them back and we can redo them, of course. Let me ask you, do you want to continue using the heavy starch, even though we should be able to do this without causing this, or was the heavy starch not important to you? Then she gives me a choice. To be honest with you, I don't even remember asking for the heavy starch. I think I asked for it thinking it would give me less wrinkles. At that point, if she would have approached it that way, I would have been more likely to accept her recommendation, instead of being irritated. I brought my business elsewhere, somewhere that was more concerned about helping me and appreciating me than they were about educating me as to how I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with educating customers, but we have to remember, whenever a customer has an issue or a concern, our first line of defense cannot be education. Not everyone wants to hear why something is wrong, why a mistake was made, or what decisions they're making that's causing this adverse effect. What they need to be is heard and understood first, and then we can tell them exactly what can be done differently in the future or why this continues to happen. Please, whenever you're doing customer service, whenever an issue comes up, even if you know the answer, before you educate, appreciate, and understand the person further first.